speech, Samir. It's my pleasure now to introduce Honorable Willie Jackson, joining us representing the government of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and to inaugurate the summit. Mr. Jackson is the Minister of Employment and Associate Minister for ACC and Maori Development. Honorable Willie Jackson is a former urban Maori chief executive and award-winning radio and television broadcaster. He grew up in Porirua and Mangere and attended Mangere College in his teenage years. Mr. Jackson previously worked as a trade union organizer, record company executive, broadcaster, sports talkback radio host, and urban Maori advocate. Primarily based in Auckland, he has supported the rights of Maori and urban Maori nationally for many years with a focus on community development, particularly in South Auckland. He has been at the forefront in terms of advancing community interests, local initiatives, and whānau aspirations. The Minister has a very long history working within both Maori and mainstream media and print, radio and television, including commentating election coverage in 2005, 2008, 2011, and 2014. And may I add that he's one of my favorite New Zealand broadcasters, particularly his award-winning Willie and JD show on Radio Live. My pleasure to give you Honourable Willie Jackson.
Hai kia ora koutou. Tuatahi e tika ana ki te huri a tātou whakaaro ki ngā mate, nō reira ngā mate, moi mai rā. Yeah, well done to the Mayor Phil Goff too, congratulations to him. Just want to acknowledge a few people here today, Samir Handa, our INZBC chair. Just want to acknowledge also Anya Satnad, who's here for her father, who's sick. Sir Arnard is sick at this time, but he's makes such a huge contribution to New Zealand society and has made quite a contribution to Maori too, having made a real contribution in the justice area. So I want to acknowledge him and her today. Also, our Indian High Commissioner Miktish Padeshi. And I was going to acknowledge all our honourable members of Parliament, but they're not here, so I acknowledge my very good friend here who's here today, Priyanka Radhakrishnan, who is doing some really important work in terms of ethnic communities, and I'm really proud of her work in terms of what we're doing in terms of the government at the moment. Bar Dylan, the Honorary Consul of India in Auckland, Dave Nadkani, editor for Kia Ora India magazine, honourable delegates and guests from India, ladies and gentlemen, it's certainly a pleasure to be here, and give my apologies for Minister O'Connor, who was originally wanting to be here, but I'm happy to come along and support this very important conference in kaupapa. It's my pleasure to join you at this annual conference. The INZBC has been tireless in its long-standing support of trade and investment links between India and New Zealand. Your work is not only hugely important, but also greatly appreciated. So today is an opportunity to discuss the growing importance of the India-New Zealand relationship and how this relationship contributes to our nation's shared prosperity. India and New Zealand share a long and constructive relationship. Some of our commonalities are well known. We're both Commonwealth countries, committed democracies, and of course, proud cricketing nations. While India and New Zealand may sit at opposite ends of the Indo-Pacific region in a geographic sense, our visions for the region are very similar. We are both proponents of a strong rules-based international order with a set of common underlying principles which work for small and large countries alike. Here in New Zealand, our people-to-people links are significant and growing. Around 240,000 people, or more than 5% of New Zealand's population, are of Indian descent. In Auckland, that statistic is closer to 8%. Excuse me. The contribution of the Indian people to New Zealand business, government, sports and civil society is huge and highly valued. These connections will continue to fuel the growth of our bilateral relationship, including in the trade sphere. But New Zealand is not just relying on this happening organically. We are actively and purposely stepping up our efforts. Thanks very much. Stepping up our efforts to bring India and New Zealand together as closer partners. This includes, of course, engaging with India at the highest level. Just a couple of weeks ago, Prime Minister Ardern and Prime Minister Modi met at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. They also both spoke at an event honouring the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi. The meeting between our leaders was a timely opportunity to review the breadth of our relationship, including our economic relationship. Now, our story is a positive one. In the year to March 2019, two-way trade passed the 3 billion mark for the first time. Over the last 3 years, trade between our nations has grown approximately 20%. While we already have a significant economic relationship, there remains considerable scope for further growth. To say that India's potential is vast is an understatement. India is one of the world's fastest growing large economies and is projected to have the world's largest population by 2024. With a large youthful population and a diverse economy that spans smallholder farming to high precision manufacturing and excellence in information technology, India is undergoing a major economic transformation. Delivering on India's ambitious economic goals will require new inputs, new technology, and new expertise. New Zealand is willing and able to help. For example, New Zealand's horticulturalists are working with apple farmers in Himachal Pradesh to share their knowledge in order to improve production systems, irrigation, supply chain infrastructure, and expand market access opportunities. New Zealand is also in discussions with a number of Indian state governments to identify opportunities to share our expertise in ease of doing business, where we have consistently ranked first in the world. New Zealand companies are also responding to the call to make in India, thereby making a contribution to India-centred global value change. For example, Glidepath Group designed, made, dispatched, and installed a baggage handling system for Bali's airport from its manufacturing and operational hub in Pune. Meanwhile, Rakon makes high-tech telecommunications equipment at a facility in Bengaluru, much of which is then exported to Europe. To enable more of this and to truly maximise the economic potential in our relationship, we need to address continued barriers to trade. Trade architecture is a key part of that vision. Both New Zealand and India benefit from an open rules-based international trading system. In today's world, there is a significant pressure on the system and many of the principles and rules that underpin it. We have seen the sharpest rise in protectionism since 1995. We do not see any long-term upside should this trend continue. However, there is some good news. India and New Zealand can be part of an outcome that will send an important message about reversing these trends. When concluded, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement will anchor India and New Zealand in a regional agreement which covers nearly half the world's population, nearly a third of the world's GDP, and is the destination for 58% of New Zealand's exports. My colleague Damien O'Connor, Minister of State for Trade and Export Growth, has said that concluding the deal this year is achievable but relies on further urgency and momentum being built. An accommodation between the big economies, in particular India and China, will also be key. Minister O'Connor met with the Honourable Piyush Goyal, Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, at the RCEP ministerial meeting in Bangkok recently, and was heartened to hear India's commitment to concluding RCEP this year. The ministers also discussed the need for trade deals to benefit everyone, which is in keeping with New Zealand's Trade for All agenda. The Trade for All agenda recognises the importance of building widespread public support for trade policy as part of sustainable and inclusive economic development. Minister O'Connor is intending to visit India in early November following the RCEP summit to discuss RCEP progress and opportunities for New Zealand to assist India's economic development goals, especially in the agricultural sector. Let me now take a moment to talk to you about New Zealand's economic plans and agenda so you have a sense of our overall approach. The government's economic policies have delivered growth of 0.5% in the June quarter and an average growth of 2.4% in this year, in the year ending June. And now that GDP data shows that New Zealand economy continues to outperform those of Australia, Canada, the Euro area, the UK, and the OECD average. We have record low employment, and this is an economy that must be taken seriously as a place to invest and to do business. Our economic plan is strong on investing in infrastructure. As a government, we've invested record amounts in hospital and school building programs and in regional economic development alongside large investments in transport safety, regional roads and public transport. All of this will provide a springboard for the future, and we've achieved it while maintaining a responsible budget surplus. On top of our ambitious economic plan and strong economic fundamentals, New Zealand ranks close to the top of international transparency, corruption and wellbeing indicators, and we have a high level of trust in government. We are consistently ranked number one in global surveys of ease in doing business and starting a business. We also welcome quality foreign investment. For example, Indian Immunologicals has been a long-term and highly valued investor in New Zealand, creating global connections and providing jobs, particularly in the northern region. I hope that this gives you some sense and some idea of New Zealand business and the economic environment. We're very comfortable with it. We think we're on track. Let me assure you, we're a busy, active government, a country that we believe is very, very much open in terms of business. Maximising our relationship relies not just on government, but on business and people with good ideas. That's why it's great to see you all here today, engaged and interested in doing more with India. Your advice and thoughts on how the government can support business and export opportunities in India will always be welcome. We, without doubt, value this relationship, this important relationship that we are talking about and collaborating on and celebrating today. I thank the INZBC and all of you who took the time to attend today. Your contribution to the India-New Zealand relationship is very much appreciated. Tēnei te mihi kia koutou, tēnā koutou, a tēnā koutou, a tēnā no tātou katoa.
Kia ora, Minister. Thank you for your address.